Welcome to the Vegas Insider channel here on YouTube as we take a look at SEC best bets for Week 11. Kevin Rogers and Brian Edwards with you. We will analyze 3 games, and Brian will give us best bets. And let's begin, Brian, with Tennessee and Georgia. Can the Volunteers hang with the Bulldogs? That is the big question as 3 touchdown underdogs.
Absolutely. Now, with the spread 20.5, I certainly want to buy that half point to the key number of 21, but I made this number 14, and I think Georgia is poised to get their first 60-minute, pardon the pun, legit real dogfight, this week. I'm not going to call for the outright upset, but if Tennessee can, Georgia is feasted upon creating turnovers, giving their offense a short field, sometimes scoring touchdowns on turnovers. And that's what they do. They've got the best defense in the country, and they may do that again, but they are facing a quarterback in Hendon Hooker that has a 21-2 touchdown to interception ratio, is continuing to get more comfortable and more effective in Josh Heupel's offense. And this Tennessee team is playing extremely well right now. And as long as they're not -2 or more in turnover margin, I do not think Georgia's going to run away and hide from them. In fact, Tennessee is 3-2 straight up at home, but their only 2 losses were to 2 very good teams, and Ole Miss and Pittsburgh. They lost 41-34 to the Panthers, and that was with Joe Milton starting. Now, Hooker replaced him when Milton got hurt. I want to say maybe late second quarter of that game. And then the Ole Miss game was 31-26. Some people felt it was a controversial spot there on that 4th down play that didn't quite end the game, but it was a huge part in it ending. And then if Hooker doesn't get hurt at the end of that game, when Joe Milton ran out of bounds in the red zone in the last play of the game like a moron. But anywho, the only 2 teams that have run away from Tennessee are Florida and Alabama, and Alabama was only ahead 31-24 with 13 minutes left in the 4th quarter of that game. And the Gator game, Tennessee was ahead late in the 2nd quarter, was only down 4 at halftime, and was only down 10 late in the 3rd quarter, and that was a long time ago. So Heupel's got these guys rolling. They're getting really good quarterback play. They're at home. I'm sure the crowd will be absolutely incredible. Tennessee has not really had a lot to get excited about for well over a decade and change, but this team is exciting. They score points, and I think it'll be 100,000. And look, Stetson Bennett and JT Daniels are not beneath committing turnovers. They are not elite quarterbacks, in my opinion. And I think Tennessee covers, but by that half point at 21.
All right, so Brian likes Tennessee against Georgia coming up on Saturday. Let's take a look now at Mississippi State and Auburn. The Bulldogs have covered 3 consecutive games as they're coming off a 3-point defeat to Arkansas on this past week. While Auburn, they were blown out at Texas A&M. You had the bad road Bo Nix this past week. But your thoughts here on this matchup between Auburn and Mississippi State?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Mississippi State again. I had them last week. I got them early in the week when they were like 5 or 5.5, and they cover in that 3-point loss. They closed +4. They missed 3 field goals, including like a 22-yard chip shot. They missed a potential game-tying field goal in the game's final play. But Mike Leach's teams are now 22-10 against the spread, their last 32 as road underdogs. Will Rogers is just playing fantastic football right now. He is number 1 in the nation in completion percentage, 75.2. He also leads the country in completions with 364 and attempts. He's 11th in the country in touchdown passes with 23. He's 3rd in the country in passing yards with 3,309. He has a 23-8 TDI-INT ratio, but 3 of those picks were against Alabama when he hurt his shoulder in the 1st quarter. So 23-5 against teams not named Bama. And Auburn's pass defense leaves a little to be desired. They are number 57 in the country in pass defense. So I think this is going to be a 60-minute battle to the end. I understand Auburn being favored, obviously, at home, but anything north of 3 or 3.5 seems a little much for me. So I will go with Miss State plus the 5.5.
All right, so Brian on Mike Leach and the Bulldogs coming up on Saturday, and our final game that we'll look at, Texas A&M and Ole Miss. Both teams at 7-2 so far on the season. Just mentioned A&M's win over Auburn. Mississippi beat Liberty this past weekend at home. So big game for both of these teams as far as the SEC West goes, Brian.
Yeah, I got to go with A&M minus 2.5 still. That's what I saw at last look. They are under Jimbo Fisher and his 4-year tenure. The Aggies are 7-0 against the spread as a road favorite. Now, if somebody wanted to call out that stat, they did not cover at Colorado, but that game was in Denver, so I guess we could technically call it a neutral venue. But if not, still 7-1. Against the spread as a road favorite. They have won 4 games in a row, including the win over Alabama. And since then, they've been dominant, 35-14 at Mizzou, and that could have been worse. And 44-14 against South Carolina. It was 41-0 at the end of the third, and 20-3 against Auburn. So A&M is rolling. Now, I'm not implying they're going to get an easy game at Ole Miss, but Mingo and Drummond's questionable. It doesn't sound like Mingo is going to be back. Those are their 2 best receivers. Now, they had some young receivers step up, play well against Liberty last week, but they were flirting with getting backdoored last week with Liberty driving there at the end, and Liberty had all kinds of other chances throughout the game. They had turnovers. They had a missed field goal in the first half, et cetera. So I'm going to go with A&M minus the 2.5.
All right, so to review Brian's selections for this week in the SEC, Brian likes Tennessee plus the nearly 3 touchdowns against Georgia. Also Mississippi State on the road at Auburn, and Texas A&M laying a short number against Ole Miss. Brian, thanks as always, and best of luck with your plays.
Thanks, K-Raj.
All right, there is Brian Edwards, and want to tell you about BetMGM, and for new players only, a great deal. Bet $10 to win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. Bet on any NFL money line, and if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. Again, for new players only, must be 21 years or older and legal in the following states: Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. only. Full terms and conditions apply. That is BetMGM. They are the king of sportsbooks. For Brian Edwards, I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for watching, and as always, best of luck with your bets.